Lieutenant Commander Jake Mitchell stared at the screen in front of him. The numbers made no sense. He rubbed his eyes and looked again. The deep space sensors were picking up something massive at the edge of the solar system. Jake had been watching space for 12 years from the Orbital Defense Command Center in Colorado Springs. He had never seen anything like this. "Computer, run diagnostic on Sensor Array 7, Jake said into his headset. The computer hummed for a few seconds before responding that all systems were working perfectly. Jake felt his stomach drop. If the sensors were right, then something huge was coming toward Earth. Jake pressed the red button on his console. Within seconds, Admiral Lisa Carter was standing behind him. She was a tall woman with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her blue eyes were sharp and missed nothing. "What do you have for me, Mitchell?" Admiral Carter asked. Jake pointed at his screen. "Ma'am, I'm reading multiple large objects entering our solar system. They appeared about 10 minutes ago near Neptune's orbit. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our database." Admiral Carter leaned closer to look at the display. The objects were moving fast, much faster than any human ship could travel. They were also huge. Each one was the size of a small city. "How many?" she asked. 47 ships, ma'am." "Maybe more. They're maintaining formation and heading straight for Earth." Admiral Carter felt cold fear in her chest. In all her years of military service, she had hoped this day would never come. First contact with an alien species. The problem was that these aliens didn't seem friendly. "Get me Dr. Kevin Ross on the line immediately," Admiral Carter ordered. "And patch me through to General Paul Jenkins at the Pentagon." Within minutes, both men were on the communication screen. Dr. Ross was a thin man with messy brown hair and thick glasses. He ran Earth's Defensive Systems Research Division. General Jenkins was older, with gray hair and deep lines around his eyes from years of military command. "Gentlemen, we have a situation," Admiral Carter began. She quickly explained what they were seeing on the sensors. Dr. Ross adjusted his glasses nervously. "Admiral, the energy readings are incredible. These ships are using technology we don't understand. Their power output is hundreds of times greater than our most advanced vessels." General Jenkins frowned. "How long before they reach Earth?" Jake checked his calculations again. "At their current speed, approximately 48 hours. "Sir," the room fell silent. 48 hours to prepare for something they had never faced before. Admiral Carter looked at the faces on her screen. These were good people, smart people, but they all looked scared. "Dr. Ross, I need you to analyze everything we can gather about these ships. Find me a weakness. Find me something we can use." Admiral Carter said. Double quotes. "Yes, ma'am. I'll get my team on it right away. General Jenkins, we need to prepare our defenses. Alert all orbital platforms and lunar bases. Get our fleet ready for combat. Already on it, Admiral. I'm calling an emergency meeting with all branch commanders in 1 hour." As the communication ended, Jake continued monitoring the approaching fleet. The alien ships moved with perfect precision, like a school of fish swimming through space. Their hulls seemed to shimmer and change color as they traveled. "Sir, I'm picking up something else," Jake reported. "The ships are scanning our system. They're sending out some kind of energy pulse every few minutes." Admiral Carter nodded grimly. The aliens were studying them, learning about Earth's defenses before they arrived. This was not a peaceful first contact mission across the command center. Other operators were receiving reports from observatories around the world. The alien fleet was visible to anyone with a powerful telescope. Within hours, the news would spread across Earth. Panic would follow. Admiral Carter walked to a main communication console. She had to contact the World Defense Council immediately. All of Earth's nations would need to work together for what was coming. This is Admiral Carter at Orbital Defense Command. I need an emergency session of the World Defense Council within the next 2 hours. We have incoming hostile contact. The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Military bases around the world went to high alert. Civilian governments prepared emergency broadcasts. Scientists worked frantically to understand. The alien technology Dr. Ross and his team studied every piece of data they could gather. The alien ships used some form of energy shielding that made them nearly invisible to many sensors. Their hulls appeared to be made of a crystalline material that reflected energy in strange ways. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission," Jake announced suddenly. The main screen flickered and changed. An alien face appeared on the display. The creature had large dark eyes and pale blue skin. Its mouth moved, but the words that came out were in perfect English. "People of Earth, I am Commander Zeltar of the Zephyrian Empire. Your world has been selected for integration into our domain. You have 48 of your hours to surrender unconditionally. If you comply, your species will be allowed to serve the Empire. If you resist, your planet will be cleansed and prepared for Zephyrian colonization. This message will not be repeated." The screen went black. Admiral Carter stood in the silence. That followed. Around the command center, dozens of officers stared at blank screens. The message was clear and simple. Surrender or die. "Ma'am, what are your orders?" Jake asked quietly. Admiral Carter straightened her uniform and looked around the room. These people were counting on her to make the right decision. Earth was counting on her. "We don't surrender," she said firmly. "Not to anyone. Get me all department heads in the main briefing room in 30 minutes. We're going to figure out how to fight these things." As alarms began sounding throughout the base, Admiral Carter wondered if they had any chance at all. The alien ships were clearly superior in every way, but humans had one thing the aliens might not expect. They were stubborn, and they never gave up without a fight. The clock was ticking. 48 hours to save the world. Captain Amy Watson watched the alien scouts approach Luna Defense Station through the observation deck windows. The 3 Zephyrian ships moved like liquid mercury through space, their crystalline hulls catching the light from distant stars. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "All stations report ready for combat," Lieutenant Sam Garcia announced from the command center behind her. Amy nodded, but kept watching the approaching ships. Luna Station was humanity's first line of defense, positioned between Earth and the outer solar system. It housed 200 personnel and the most advanced weapon systems Earth had ever built. Amy hoped it would be enough. "Contact the ESV. Defender," Amy ordered. "Tell Captain Murphy we have visual contact with enemy scouts." Captain Steve Murphy commanded Earth's newest and most powerful warship. The Defender was sleek and fast, armed with plasma cannons and nuclear missiles. It represented the best of human technology. Murphy had been eager to test his ship against the aliens since their arrival was announced. "Defender acknowledges," Garcia reported. "Captain Murphy is moving to intercept." Amy watched as the Defender and 5 smaller escort ships moved toward the alien scouts. The human ships looked small compared to the Zephyrian vessels, but they were faster and more maneuverable. "This is Captain Murphy to all ships," pinned the voice over the communication system. "We are engaging the enemy. All weapons free." The first shots of the war came from the Defender's main plasma cannon. Bright blue energy beams streaked across space toward the lead alien ship. Amy held her breath as she watched. The plasma hit the alien vessel directly, but instead of exploding, the energy seemed to bend around the ship like water flowing around a rock. "What the hell?" Murphy's voice crackled over the radio. The alien ship continued forward as if nothing had happened. Its crystalline hull glowed slightly where the plasma had struck, but there was no damage. The other human ships fired their weapons with the same result. Missiles exploded harmlessly against invisible barriers. Energy weapons were absorbed or deflected. Amy felt her heart sink. Their best weapons were useless. The alien ships responded with their own attack. Beams of silver light shot from their hulls toward the human vessels. The first beam hit the escort ship Courage directly in the center. The ship simply vanished in a flash of white light, leaving nothing behind but glowing particles. Courage is gone, Arcia reported, his voice shaking. No survivors. Captain Murphy tried different tactics. He ordered his ships to spread out and attack from multiple angles. He used every type of weapon in their arsenal. Nothing worked. The alien shields stopped everything, while their return fire destroyed ship after ship. All vessels retreat immediately. Amy ordered over the radio, "Fall back to Luna Station." But it was too late for most of them. Within 10 minutes, 4 of the 6 human ships were destroyed. Only the Defender and 1 escort managed to escape, both badly damaged. Amy turned from the window to face her crew. 200 faces looked back at her, all showing the same fear and confusion she felt. "Prepare the station for evacuation," she ordered. "All non-essential personnel to the escape pods immediately." "Ma'am, shouldn't we try to fight?" asked Sergeant Bill Thompson. Amy looked at the young Marine. He was brave, but bravery wouldn't stop those alien weapons. "With what, Sergeant?" "You saw what happened to our ships. Our weapons can't even scratch their shields." As the evacuation began, Amy contacted Earth. Admiral Carter's face appeared on the communication screen, looking grim. "Report, Captain Watson," Admiral Carter said. "Complete failure, ma'am. Our weapons are ineffective against their shielding technology. We lost 4 ships and barely damaged 1 alien scout. I'm evacuating Luna Station." Admiral Carter nodded. Slowly. "Understood. Get your people out of there and fall back to Earth orbit." Amy was about to end the transmission when something caught her attention on the tactical display. She studied the readings from the battle more carefully. "Admiral, wait. I'm seeing something odd in the sensor data. The alien shields seem to react differently to different types of weapons." Dr. Kevin Ross appeared on the screen next to Admiral Carter. He had been monitoring the battle from Earth. "Captain Watson, can you send us all your sensor recordings?" Dr. Ross asked. "Every detail. Might be important." Amy nodded and ordered her crew to transmit all data to Earth. As the information flowed through the communication systems, she noticed something else. The alien scouts were moving toward Luna Station, but slowly, as if they were studying it. "They're scanning us," Amy realized. "They want to understand our technology before they destroy us." This was both good and bad news. Good, because it gave them time to evacuate. Bad, because it meant the aliens were learning about human defenses. The evacuation continued as the alien scouts approached. Amy was one of the last people to leave Luna Station. She watched from her escape pod as the 3 alien ships surrounded the massive defense platform. Silver beams lanced out from the Zephyrian vessels, cutting through Luna Station's armor like paper. The station's defensive weapons fired automatically, but the shots simply bounced off the alien shields. Within minutes, humanity's greatest defensive installation was reduced to glowing debris. Back on Earth, Admiral Carter studied the battle recordings with Dr. Ross and his team. The results were depressing, but not completely hopeless. "Look at this," Dr. Ross said, pointing to a section of sensor data. When the Defender fired its railgun slugs, the alien shields flickered for just a moment. Admiral Carter leaned closer. "What does that mean?" "I'm not sure yet, but it suggests their shields might have trouble with certain types of kinetic weapons. The plasma and missiles they stop easily, but the old-fashioned metal projectiles caused some kind of reaction. Colonel Ryan Davis entered the briefing room carrying reports from around the world. "Ma'am, we're receiving similar data from observatories that tracked the battle. The alien shields definitely respond differently to kinetic weapons versus energy weapons." Admiral Carter looked at the men around her. These were some of Earth's brightest minds, and they were all reaching the same conclusion. "Are you telling me that our most advanced weapons are useless, but our most primitive ones might actually work?" she asked. Dr. Ross adjusted his glasses nervously. "It's possible, ma'am. Their technology seems designed to counter energy-based attacks and guided missiles. They might not be prepared for simple kinetic projectiles." "Like bullets?" Colonel Davis asked. "Like bullets," Dr. Ross confirmed. Admiral Carter stood up and walked to the window overlooking Colorado Springs. In the distance, she could see the lights of the city where millions of people were going about their evening routines, unaware that humanity had just lost its first battle against alien invaders. "How long before the main fleet arrives?" she asked. 36 hours, Colonel Davis replied. Admiral Carter turned back to face her team. "Then we have 36 hours to figure out how to fight them with bullets. Dr. Ross, I want every kinetic weapon system on Earth analyzed and prepared for combat. Colonel Davis, start mobilizing every anti-aircraft battery we have. If energy weapons won't work, then we go back to basics." As the meeting broke up and people rushed to their assignments, Admiral Carter remained at the window. The alien fleet was coming, and humanity's most advanced defenses had proven useless. But maybe, just maybe, their oldest weapons might save them all. Dr. Kevin Ross had not slept in 24 hours. He stood in the underground research facility in New Mexico, surrounded by computer screens showing endless streams of data from the Luna Station battle. His team of scientists worked frantically around him, trying to understand how the alien shields worked. "Dr. Ross, I think I found something," called Dr. Nicole Green from across the lab. She was a young physicist with red hair and sharp green eyes. Her specialty was defensive systems, and she had been studying the alien technology since the first ships appeared. Kevin hurried over to her workstation. On her screen was a detailed analysis of the moments when human weapons had struck the alien ships. "Look at this pattern," Nicole said, pointing to a series of waveforms on her display. "Every time we hit them with energy weapons, their shields absorbed the attack perfectly. But watch what happens with kinetic weapons." She played a recording of the Defender's railgun firing at the alien scout. The metal slug struck the alien shield, and for just a fraction of a second, the barrier flickered and weakened. "The shield is trying to adapt to the kinetic impact, but it takes time," Nicole continued. "It's like their technology is designed to counter advanced weapons, but struggles with simple physics." Kevin studied the data carefully. "Show me the missile impacts." Nicole switched to recordings of the nuclear missiles hitting the alien ships. The shield stopped them completely, but the analysis showed something interesting. The shields recognized the missile guidance systems and electronic components immediately, Nicole explained. They adapted faster than the missiles could reach them. But with the railgun slugs, which are just chunks of metal with no electronics, the shields had to figure out how to stop them through trial and error. Tom Bradley, the facility's chief engineer, joined them at the workstation. He was a big man, with graying hair and hands stained from years of working with machinery. "So you're saying their shields are smart?" Tom asked. "Very smart," Kevin replied. "They can analyze incoming weapons and create perfect countermeasures in milliseconds. But they seem to have trouble with weapons that don't match their database of expected threats." Across the facility, Major Chris Thompson was examining pieces of wreckage recovered from the destroyed human ships. He had been a combat engineer for 15 years and knew weapons better than most people. Something about the alien technology bothered him, but he couldn't quite figure out what. "Hey, Doc," Chris called to Kevin. "Come look at this." Chris showed them a piece of hull plating from the escort ship Valor. The metal was twisted and melted. But there were also some strange marks that didn't match the alien weapon signatures. "These impact marks here," Chris said, pointing to small dents in the metal. "They're from our own weapons. Specifically, from the emergency defensive systems that activate when a ship is being destroyed." Kevin looked closer. The emergency systems on human ships included old-fashioned chemical explosive charges and simple projectile weapons designed to clear debris during evacuation procedures. "Are you saying these primitive weapons actually hit something?" Kevin asked. "I'm saying they tried to," Chris replied. "And look at the angle of these marks. Some of them came from outside the ship, which means they bounced off something and came back." Nicole gasped as she understood what Chris was suggesting. They bounced off the alien shields. The shields deflected them instead of absorbing them. Kevin felt excitement building in his chest. "Tom, do we have any footage of the emergency systems activating?" Tom quickly pulled up video recordings from the battle. Most of the destroyed ships had activated their emergency systems in the final moments. Before being destroyed, the cameras showed small explosions and projectiles shooting out from the human vessels. "There," Nicole pointed at the screen. "Look at that projectile trajectory." They watched as a simple metal rod shot out from the dying ship's emergency system. It struck the alien vessel's shield and bounced off at an odd angle, but for just a moment. The shield showed visible distortion. "The shields don't know how to handle random kinetic impacts," Kevin realized. "They're designed to stop guided weapons and energy attacks, but they struggle with unpredictable physical objects." Lieutenant Beth Adams had been quietly working at another station, analyzing communication intercepts from the alien fleet. She was a systems analyst with a talent for finding patterns in complex data. "Dr. Ross, I think I know why they're shields." "Work this way," Beth said, looking up from her computer. The team gathered around her workstation. Beth had been studying the alien communication signals, trying to understand their technology. Based on their signal patterns, the Zephyrian Empire has been fighting space battles for thousands of years, Beth explained. But all their enemies used energy weapons and guided missiles. Their shields evolved to counter those specific threats. "So they've never faced kinetic weapons?" Tom asked. "Not random ones," Beth replied. "Think about it. Most advanced civilizations would develop guided projectiles, smart missiles, energy beams. Simple bullets and unguided rockets would be considered primitive and ineffective in space combat." Kevin began pacing excitedly. "But Earth never abandoned kinetic weapons completely. We still use them for atmospheric defense. Anti-aircraft systems," Chris said suddenly. "Surface-to-air missiles, flak cannons, even old World War II era equipment." Nicole looked puzzled. "But those weapons are designed for use in atmosphere. They wouldn't work in space." "They don't need to work in space," Kevin replied. "The alien fleet is coming to Earth. They'll have to enter our atmosphere to attack our cities." The room fell silent as everyone realized what Kevin was suggesting. Earth's oldest defensive weapons, the systems most people considered obsolete, might be their only hope against the most advanced alien technology. "We need to contact Admiral Carter immediately," Kevin said. Within minutes, Admiral Carter was on the communication screen along with General Paul Jenkins and Colonel Ryan Davis. "Report, Dr. Ross," Admiral Carter said. Kevin quickly explained their discoveries. He showed them the data about the alien shields and the effectiveness of kinetic weapons. When he finished, the military officers looked skeptical. "You want us to fight alien spaceships with anti-aircraft guns?" General Jenkins asked. "Not just anti-aircraft guns," Kevin replied. "Every surface-to-air missile system we have. Every Flak cannon, every kinetic defense system. The aliens have never faced this type of coordinated ground-based defense. Colonel Davis studied the data on his screen. Dr. Ross, most of our SAM sites use guided missiles. Won't their shields stop those too? Some of them, yes, Nicole answered. But many of our older systems use different guidance methods. Heat-seeking missiles, radar-guided projectiles, even optically tracked weapons. The more variety we use, the harder it will be for their shields to adapt. Admiral Carter looked thoughtful. How many anti-aircraft systems do we have worldwide? Thousands, Colonel Davis replied. Every major city has some form of air defense. Many military bases have multiple systems. If we coordinate with our allies, we could have tens of thousands of defensive positions. But will it be enough? General Jenkins asked. Kevin looked at the data one more time. The alien shields were incredibly advanced, but they had one weakness. They were designed to fight future wars, not old ones. I don't know if it will be enough, Kevin admitted, but it's the only chance we have. We need to use every defensive system on Earth simultaneously. Hit them with so many different types of kinetic weapons that their shields can't adapt fast enough. Admiral Carter nodded slowly. Colonel Davis, how long would it take to coordinate a global defense network? 12 hours to get basic communications established. Another 6 to coordinate firing solutions and timing. The alien fleet will be here in 18 hours, Admiral Carter said. That gives us no margin for error. Kevin looked around the room at the faces of his colleagues. They were scared, but they were also determined. Humanity's survival depended on whether primitive weapons could defeat advanced technology. There's one more thing, Beth added quietly. The alien communications suggest they're not expecting any real resistance. They think our defeat at Luna Station proved we're helpless. Good, Admiral Carter said grimly. Let them think that. Dr. Ross, I'm giving you complete authority to modify any defensive system on Earth. Make them work. Colonel Davis, start contacting every military base and government on the planet. We're going to give these aliens the surprise of their lives. As the communication ended, Kevin looked around the underground facility. In 18 hours, they would find out if human ingenuity could overcome alien superiority. The clock was ticking, and the fate of Earth hung in the balance. Sergeant Matt Johnson wiped sweat from his forehead as he helped position the last missile launcher on the frozen hillside in Alaska. The temperature was 20 degrees below zero, but he barely felt the cold. His team had been working for 12 straight hours to establish the remote SAM site. That's the last one, called Corporal Tim Brown from across the snow-covered installation. All 6 launchers are online and connected to the network. Matt looked down at the portable computer, showing their connection to the global defense grid. Green lights indicated that their station was successfully linked to thousands of similar positions around the world. It was the largest coordinated military operation in human history. Control, this is Alaskan Site 77, Matt spoke into his radio. All systems green and ready for targeting data. The voice that responded came from deep underground in Colorado. Copy 77. You are now part of Grid Network Alpha. Maintain radio silence until activation order. 3,000 miles away in Germany, Captain Helen Wright was having similar conversations with military commanders across Europe. Her temporary command center was housed in an old World War II bunker that had been hastily converted into a communication hub. British sites report all Patriot systems modified and ready, reported Lieutenant Frank Miller. French positions confirm their SAMPT systems are online. The Russians have activated every S-300 and S-400 system they have. Helen studied the massive display screen showing defensive positions across the globe. Red dots indicated active anti-aircraft sites. Blue dots showed radar installations. And Green dots marked command centers. The entire planet was bristling with weapons. "What's our total count?" Helen asked. 53,000 individual launchers, Frank replied. Everything from modern Patriot missiles to old Soviet-era systems that were supposed to be retired 20 years ago. The variety was incredible. American DOD systems stood ready alongside German Gepard guns. British Rapier missiles were coordinated with Indian Akash systems. Even museum pieces had been dragged out of storage and hastily repaired. Technical. Sergeant Danny Clark was working frantically at Ramstein Air Base, modifying targeting computers to track objects moving at incredible speeds. He had been a radar technician for 8 years, but nothing had prepared him for this challenge. The problem is velocity, Danny explained to his team. These alien ships move faster than anything our systems were designed to track. We need to predict where they'll be, not where they are. His solution was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of trying to track individual ships, the modified systems would create predicted intercept zones based on the aliens' likely flight paths. When the ships entered these zones, every weapon in the area would fire simultaneously. "It's like shooting ducks," Danny said. "You don't aim where the duck is. You aim where it's going to be." Dr. Nicole Green was leading the payload modification efforts from her lab in New Mexico. Her team had discovered that conventional explosives were more effective than exotic materials against the alien shields. Forget about nuclear warheads, Nicole told the engineers working with her. The shields absorb energy too efficiently, but they have trouble with simple kinetic impacts and chemical explosions. Her modification teams were working around the clock to replace sophisticated warheads with basic high-explosive charges surrounded by metal fragments. It was a step backward in weapons technology, but it might be exactly what they needed. Corporal Jason Lee was establishing communication links between defense sites across South America. His mobile communication unit had been driving through Brazil for 6 hours, setting up relay stations in remote locations. "The key is redundancy," Jason explained to his partner, Sergeant Carlos Rivera. "If the aliens jam our primary frequencies, we switch to backups. If they destroy our satellite links, we use ground-based radio. If they take out our computer networks, we go back to voice communication." The communication network was a mixture of modern digital systems and old-fashioned radio equipment. Some stations were using equipment so old that parts had to be scavenged from museums and private collectors. Commander Lisa Hayes was coordinating intelligence gathering from her position at NORAD. Her team was analyzing every piece of information they could gather about the approaching alien fleet. "The main fleet is maintaining formation as it approaches Earth," Lisa reported to Admiral Carter. 47 ships in a perfect diamond pattern. They're not taking any evasive action or showing any signs that they expect resistance. The aliens' confidence was both encouraging and terrifying. Encouraging because it meant they might be caught off guard. Terrifying because it suggested they had good reason to be confident. Major Chris Thompson was overseeing the final preparations. At Peterson Air Force Base, his job was to coordinate the timing of the global attack. Every weapon system had to fire within a 60-second window for the plan to work. "The synchronization has to be perfect," Chris explained to his staff. "If we fire too early, they'll adapt their shields before the main barrage hits. If we fire too late, they'll be spread out across the planet, and we won't have enough concentrated firepower." The timing was complicated by the fact that Earth rotates. Weapons on the night side of the planet would fire first, followed by systems in the twilight zone, and finally by daytime positions. The coordination required split-second timing across multiple time zones. General Paul Jenkins was in constant communication with military leaders around the world. The political challenges were almost as difficult as the technical ones. The North Koreans want to use their entire missile arsenal, General Jenkins reported to Admiral Carter. I had to explain that ICBMs won't work against ships that can dodge. At the last second, what about the Chinese? Admiral Carter asked. Full cooperation. They're activating every defensive system they have, including some we didn't know existed. The Russians are doing the same. It was remarkable how quickly old enemies had become allies when faced with extinction. Nations that had been hostile to each other for decades were now sharing military secrets and coordinating attacks. Dr. Kevin Ross was making final adjustments to the targeting algorithms from his underground bunker. The calculations were incredibly complex, involving orbital mechanics, atmospheric physics, and alien technology analysis. We get one chance at this, Kevin told his team. If the initial barrage fails to do significant damage, they'll adapt their shields and become immune to kinetic weapons. The plan was simple in concept, but incredibly difficult to execute. When the alien fleet entered Earth's atmosphere, every anti-aircraft system on the planet would fire simultaneously. The barrage would include thousands of different types of weapons, from modern guided missiles to old-fashioned flak guns. Lieutenant Beth Adams was monitoring alien communications from her station in Colorado. The alien fleet was still 12 hours away, but their signals were getting stronger. They're discussing landing zones, Beth reported. Major population centers in North America, Europe, and Asia. They plan to establish control points in New York, London, Beijing, and Moscow. The aliens were so confident of victory that they were already planning the occupation of Earth. They had no idea that 50,000 weapons were waiting for them. As the final hours ticked away, soldiers and technicians across the globe made last-minute preparations. In the deserts of Nevada, old Hawk missile systems were loaded with modified warheads. On the steppes of Russia, ancient SA-2 launchers were brought online for the first time in decades. Admiral Carter stood in the main command center, watching status reports flow in from around the world. Green lights indicated ready systems. There were thousands of green lights. Ma'am, we have confirmation from all sectors, Colonel Davis reported. Every defensive position is online and ready. We have achieved 100% network connectivity. Admiral Carter nodded grimly. In her 30 years of military service, she had never been part of anything like this. Humanity was about to bet everything on a desperate plan involving obsolete weapons and perfect timing. Signal all positions, Admiral Carter ordered. Operation Thunder begins in 8 hours. All units maintain readiness and await final authorization. Across the planet, 50,000 weapons turned toward the sky, waiting for an enemy unlike anything Earth had ever faced. The next few hours would determine whether human ingenuity could triumph over alien superiority, or whether Earth would fall to invaders from the stars. The clock continued ticking toward humanity's most desperate hour. The Zephyrian fleet entered Earth's atmosphere like falling stars, their crystalline hulls glowing as they descended through the upper atmosphere. Commander Zeltar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue planet grow larger through the observation ports. In all his campaigns across the galaxy, he had never seen a world surrender so quickly after a single demonstration of power. Begin descent to primary targets, Zeltar ordered his fleet. Establish control zones over the major population centers. Resistance should be minimal based on their pathetic display at their lunar facility. The 47 alien ships spread across Earth's surface in perfect formation. 12 ships moved toward North America, 12 toward Europe, 10 toward Asia, 8 toward South America, and 5 toward Africa and Australia. They descended slowly, confident in their superiority. Admiral Lisa Carter watched the alien deployment from her command bunker deep beneath Colorado. Every screen around her showed the same thing. alien ships moving into position exactly as predicted. All stations, this is command, Admiral Carter spoke into her headset. The enemy is entering the atmosphere. All units maintain silence until my order. Across the planet, 50,000 weapons tracked the descending alien ships. In Alaska, Sergeant Matt Johnson lay flat in the snow behind his missile launcher, watching the targeting screen show 3 alien ships approaching Anchorage. "Easy targets," Matt whispered to Corporal Tim Brown. "They're not even trying to evade." In Germany, Captain Helen Wright coordinated with defense sites across Europe as 12 alien ships descended toward major cities. Her screens showed London, Paris, Berlin, and Rome all under direct threat. "All European positions report ready," Helen announced. "Targets are locked and weapons are hot." The alien ships continued their leisurely descent, scanning the cities below them with energy beams. They showed no concern for potential ground-based threats. Why should they? Their shields had easily defeated humanity's most advanced space-based weapons. Commander, Zeltar was pleased with the humans' lack of response. His scouts had reported no significant military activity. A few old radar installations were operating, but they posed no threat to Zephyrian technology. "Begin landing procedures at designated zones," Zeltar commanded. "Deploy occupation forces as planned." The alien ships slowed their descent and moved into final approach patterns over their target. Cities. They were now within range of Earth's defensive weapons, flying at altitudes between 5,000 and 15,000 feet. Admiral Carter watched the tactical display as the last alien ship entered the optimal engagement zone. This was the moment everything depended on. If the plan failed, Earth would fall within hours. All stations, Admiral Carter announced. Operation Thunder is now active. I repeat, Operation Thunder is now active. Fire, fire, fire. The first shot came from Sergeant Matt Johnson's position in Alaska. His modified Patriot missile streaked upward toward the nearest alien ship, followed immediately by 5 more missiles from his battery. The weapons struck the alien vessel's shields, and for just a moment, the barriers flickered and weakened. "Holy shit, it worked," Matt shouted as he watched the alien ship stagger in the air. But Matt's battery was just the beginning. Across the planet, 50,000 weapons opened fire simultaneously. The sky filled with missiles, rockets, and projectiles of every description. Modern Patriots flew alongside Soviet-era SA-2 South. V-dot interceptors raced upward next to ancient flak shells. The alien ships, caught completely off guard, tried to adapt their shields to the massive barrage. But there were too many different types of weapons firing from too many directions. Heat-seeking missiles confused optical guidance systems. Radar-guided weapons interfered with electronic countermeasures. Simple unguided rockets struck from unexpected angles. Captain Helen Wright watched in amazement as the alien ship over London was hammered by hundreds of different weapons. British Rapier missiles struck from the south while German Patriots attacked. From the east, French SAMP-T systems fired from the southeast as Dutch Nassamese launchers engaged from the north. "The shields are failing," Helen reported excitedly. "The ship over London is losing altitude." Similar scenes played out across the globe. The aliens' advanced shields, designed to counter sophisticated space-based weapons, struggled desperately to adapt to the primitive but overwhelming ground-based attack. Technical. Sergeant Danny Clark's modified targeting systems were working perfectly. His prediction algorithms had placed weapons exactly where they needed to be when the alien ships arrived. The coordinated timing meant that shields barely had time to adapt to one type of weapon before being hit by something completely different. Dr. Nicole Green's payload modifications proved devastatingly effective. The simple chemical explosives and metal fragments tore through alien hulls once their shields failed. Ships that had seemed invincible just minutes before began falling from the sky. Commander Zeltar watched in shock as his fleet came under. Attack from weapons his empire had not encountered in centuries. His flagship shuddered as multiple impacts struck its shields. "How are they penetrating our defenses?" Zeltar demanded. "Sir, their weapons are primitive kinetic systems," his tactical officer reported. "Our shields are not calibrated for this type of attack. The variety of weapon types is overwhelming our adaptive systems." Another massive impact shook the flagship as a salvo of modified Tomahawk missiles struck its hull. Zeltar could hear alarms sounding throughout his ship. "All ships emergency ascent," Zeltar ordered. "Climb to higher altitude immediately." But it was too late for many of the Zephyrian vessels. The coordinated ground attack had caught them at their most vulnerable moment, flying low and slow in Earth's atmosphere. Ship after ship fell burning from the sky as their shields failed under the relentless barrage. Chris Thompson coordinated the second wave of attacks from Peterson Air Force Base. As the surviving alien ships tried to climb to safety, ground-based systems fired again, this time using longer-range weapons to reach the higher altitudes. "All long-range systems engage climbing targets," Chris ordered. "Don't let them escape the atmosphere." THAAD systems across the Pacific fired at alien ships over Asia. European SAMPT launchers engaged vessels trying to flee over the Atlantic. The Integrated Global Defense Network ensured that there was no safe direction for the aliens to retreat. The battle lasted less than 30 minutes, but it changed everything. Of the 47 ships that had entered Earth's atmosphere, only 12 managed to escape back to space. The rest were destroyed or crashed, their advanced technology no match for Earth's coordinated primitive weapons. Commander Zeltar's flagship was one of the survivors, but it was badly damaged. Multiple hull breaches leaked atmosphere, and several primary systems were offline. "Sir, we must retreat," his tactical officer urged. "Our losses are catastrophic." Zeltar looked at the tactical display showing the remains of his once mighty fleet. In less than half an hour, humans had destroyed nearly 3/4 of his ships using weapons his empire considered obsolete. "Open a channel to the human planet," Zeltar ordered reluctantly. Admiral Carter's image appeared on the alien commander's screen. She looked calm but determined, nothing like the defeated enemy Zeltar had expected to find. "This is Commander Zeltar of the Zephyrian Empire," he began. "Your species has proven more resourceful than anticipated. We acknowledge your victory in this engagement." Admiral Carter nodded slightly. "Commander, you came here expecting easy conquest. Instead, you found that humans don't surrender easily." "Indeed," Zeltar replied. "We underestimated your capabilities. The Zephyrian Empire will remember this lesson." "See that you do," Admiral Carter said firmly. "And Commander, if your empire returns to Earth, you'll find us even better prepared." The communication ended, and the surviving alien ships began their journey back to space. They had come expecting to add another world to their empire. Instead, they had learned that sometimes the oldest weapons can defeat the newest. Technology Dr. Kevin Ross watched the alien retreat from his underground bunker, surrounded by cheering scientists and technicians. Their desperate plan had worked beyond their wildest hopes. "We did it," Dr. Nicole Green said, tears of relief in her eyes. "We actually did it." Kevin nodded, but his expression remained serious. This was just the first round. They'll be back, and next time they'll be prepared for kinetic weapons. Admiral Carter emerged from her bunker to find crowds of people celebrating in the streets. The news of humanity's victory had spread quickly. Earth's primitive weapons had defeated an advanced alien fleet, proving that technology alone didn't guarantee victory. But Admiral Carter knew Kevin was right. The Zephyrians would return, probably with allies and certainly with better defensive systems. Humanity had won this battle, but the war for Earth's freedom was just beginning. Around the world, teams began salvaging crashed alien technology. The Zephyrian ships contained advanced materials and energy systems that could revolutionize human science. Earth would use every piece of alien technology to prepare for the next encounter. The message was clear to any species watching. Earth was not an easy target. Humans might use primitive weapons, but they used them with intelligence, coordination, and absolute determination. Any empire that wanted to conquer Earth would have.